Fight!
It was a fun day. Yeah, it was a fun day today.
It was a fun day. Welcome to the Eagle Eye Podcast with Reuben Frank. I'm Dave Zangaro. Tempers flared up a little bit at practice on Sunday. Normally when that happens, it's like a hot day and a long practice. Not the case. It was a pretty cool day, and even the beginning of practice felt kind of loose. But by the end of it, it was heated.
A little chippy. It was really one temper that flared.
Well,
for the most part.
There were a few.
A couple others.
Yeah.
But
But there was one constant in all this, and we're going to start there with the first real scuffles of training camp. We have a bunch of observations, housekeeping, of course, and then some things we want to talk about from the post-practice media availabilities. But let's start with the fights. Andre Dillard, who is no newcomer to training camp fights, but this time it felt like he was a little bit of the aggressor in some ways. He got into it with Derek Barnett, and he got into it with Patrick Johnson a couple times. Fascinating stuff. Now we'll start with the first real fight.
Did you see him after the second Patrick Johnson one, when they were going over to do I think one-on-ones, and the offensive linemen were, and did you hear him like screaming and cursing?
Andre?
Yeah.
No, well, he did. So that we'll get there. At the end of practice, he did leave early.
Yeah. Just before that.
Yeah.
I think go ahead. Set the stage and I'll throw in my 2 cents.
Okay. Well, the earlier fight, he got into a Patrick Johnson a little earlier in practice, but the two real fights, one was in one-on-ones against Derek Barnett. And you might remember back in 2019, these two got into it and they had to be separated. And then at the end of practice, it was when Doug Pearson and Howie Roseman got them together on the field to shake hands and kind of smooth it over. And that was the practice, unfortunately, for Dillard. Everyone saw him walk off the field. He had tears in his eyes. And it was something that I think stuck with him a little bit, because there was already this perceived notion that he wasn't tough, that he didn't enjoy the physicality of football or all that stuff. Didn't get that sense from him this time. It seemed like he relished it a little bit. And I think that's probably a good sign.
Yeah. And I think what he said at the end when he was walking over with the other offensive lineman, because he wasn't yelling at Patrick Johnson. Because those guys were on another field. He was yelling at the O lineman, and I think what he was saying, don't bleep with me. Yeah. I think he was saying, don't bleep with me. I think he's always fighting a perception that he's soft, and I think he's probably tired of it.
And I think so. I said he was the aggressor, and that's probably not fair, because Derek Barnett, if every training camp I came in with, chips, and I had to put my chips on one guy to start a fight, he's a pretty good place to start, because he gets chippy. He'll give you an extra little push after the play. It's kind of his MO. It's his MO in games too. But certainly on the practice field, he's not any different. So he's always, it seems like, in the middle of these skirmishes.
Yeah. And I think it's just his personality. I think he just likes living on the edge like that.
I watched him walk off the field. He was smiling. I think he loves this stuff.
Yeah. And Nick Sirianni is really, like, some coaches. Well, I don't know if any encourage fighting anymore, like back in the day.
No.
But I mean, like when I started doing this, there were multiple fights every day. But this coaching staff is adamant about you just don't do that, because that's when guys get hurt.
Yeah. Well, he talked to the team after about just, take the aggression out on the plays. Don't fight each other. It's not, we got to take care of each other. And so he did make it a point to talk to the team after the practice. And I understand why he doesn't like it. For us, though, pretty fun. And by the way, on that one-on-one, Dillard absolutely won it. And he's looked pretty good in camp. He anchored. It was a bull rush, and it was like after the rep was pretty much over, that's when Barnett kind of kept going. And that one was broken up pretty quickly. They kind of wrestled on the ground a little bit. They were separated. The next one was a little scarier, and we still don't exactly know what happened to Dillard. He did leave practice early with a trainer. You hope he's not hurt, but his helmet got ripped off in the one in team drills. So that's where it gets scary, especially for a guy like Dillard, who had a concussion a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, and I assume they brought him in. I'm just guessing they brought him in precautionary just to make sure,
Yeah, I don't know.
He was okay. We were talking. I think you were over there when I was talking to Steichen before practice about the Cleveland practices.
Yeah,
and he said that both teams have already been spoken to at length about not fighting, because that's when it can really, you're going up against guys you're not invested in. Those guys, like these guys, Nick talks about connecting, and this is your brother and your teammate all in it together trying to get better, but that's not true with the Browns. So joint practices, I mean, I've told the story before about Detroit in 1986 when a riot broke out, and basically they had to cancel the last day of joint practices between the Eagles and the Lions, and Buddy loved it, of course. But
I think, could you get like more polar opposite Buddy Ryan to Nick Sirianni?
It's incredible how different they are. The first coach and the most recent coach I covered in so many ways, But but I think you really have to be careful. I mean, we remember Carrie Williams a few years ago.
Got sent off.
I forget who the receiver was, but you probably remember that.
I don't.
Zach Berman would know like that.
I wasn't covering that practice, which is even more impressive that I know it.
Yeah. So, but I like the fact that Dillard stands up for himself, and I don't know what his future is. I don't know where he'll be. I don't know if they are really going to try to trade him. I don't think so, but I like seeing that fight in him. I like seeing him.
I think there's still a chance they trade him.
I think there's a chance, but I'm just.
He can play.
Yeah, I think so. I think he's better than some. But it's just nice. It's nice to know that he cares enough to get into a fight, and he's wants to stand up for himself, because
he's been battling that perception for a long time. And look, partly like it wasn't completely off base. Like I don't think he relished in the physical.
Aaron Dobson. Sorry.
I don't think he relished in the physical side, which as a tackle, like you kind of need to have a nasty streak. And that's something we saw from Mailata, like from day one. I think that's just like in his blood to be able to do that. And I think Dillard has to work at it a little bit.
True.
But he's completely changed his body. He's a different physical being at this point, but I think he's different mentally too. I think he's a lot tougher. I think he kind of went through it in those early years, and he came out stronger on the other side. I give him credit for it.
Yeah, if enough people call you soft, you're either gonna just give up, or you're gonna do what you can to, prove that you're not. So give him credit.
Yeah. Anything else on those scuffles? Patrick Johnson he's been playing well. I think he's learning from DB a little bit, because he was the instigator on a couple of those.
Yeah, he's had a couple of good days in a row,
mm-hmm.
And played well, I thought, Friday night. And he's a guy who's got he was a late round pick, and I think he's kind of got that edge to him, and it looks like things are clicking with him. And I think maybe, in fact, we talked to TJ Edwards about him, and he said, he's just got a confidence now that he didn't last year. Mm-hmm. I think when you have that, and you have a little more swagger, that's when you get into a fight. You're like,
I belong here.
Yeah, I belong here, and I'm not going to get pushed around. I mean, he was the aggressor, but I just think your whole mentality changes. You're not out there, kind of just trying to figure out what to do. You're able to just go do it and have some fun doing it. So yeah, but it was a good practice, and it was hopefully Dillard's okay and is back out there on Tuesday.
Yeah. All right, you want to get into
Let's do it.
There's not much that'll break me from talking about housekeeping first, but a fight will. That'll get me out of my rhythm a little bit.
Dave loves his housekeeping.
Devontae Smith back in this practice. His first practice since August 2nd.
Almost 2 weeks.
Yeah, they were really cautious. It was a groin injury, so you get that. Like, you don't want to rush him back out there, and they didn't. They really took their time, but they also made it a point. He was very active today. I think there was so much talk in the last few weeks, even before he left, about how many balls were going AJ Brown's way. I tend to think there might have been a concerted effort to really get Smith involved today.
It seemed that way.
Yeah.
I mean, it really did. He was targeted a lot. He was targeted more today. I mean, he only practiced a few days before he got hurt, but and he looked good.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, I didn't want to come back till I was 100%. And he looked fast. Got a little scare on that one.
Oof.
but he was fine. But I was really impressed with how he looked. He said he was out of shape last week, but he's back in shape this week because he couldn't run. He said I couldn't run for a while.
Yeah.
So, but he also talked. This is a young kid in his second year, and he just talked about how he made it into really valuable time. The time they had off, he said he kind of worked his rehab around practice so he could be out there, and he said I just made every rep a mental rep and learned as much as I could. If I saw something that the receiver didn't see, I would share it with them or the corner. Really mature kid, and his thing was if I'm going to miss time, I'm not going to fall behind. I'm going to be involved mentally in every practice, and he was, and I think that kind of allowed him to come back at full speed today.
And you mentioned it. Let's talk about that play. He got decked across the middle. It was a hold your breath moment. And anytime he gets hit, it is, or anytime any star player. But he's so tough, and that's the thing. I think people don't realize it because he is so slight of frame. He takes some shots. He played with an injury most of his rookie season. He's a tough kid, and you might not think it looking at him just because he's still real thin, but he really is. I mean, he'll take a shot, he'll get right back up. He played most of that season last year with that big elbow brace on.
Yeah. Yeah, he is a tough guy. Look, you have to be to play that position. The way corners play,
yeah.
I mean, if you back down, you're just never going to get the ball. So I think that's been the biggest surprise to me since he got here is just how physically tough he is. Mm-hmm. Being skinny doesn't mean you're not tough.
Yeah.
And it was good to see him out there again. And just, look, as efficient as the offense was on a Friday night, it was without him and with A.J. Brown not getting targeted. Just makes you think about where this offense is going to be when it's at full strength. It's going to be fun to watch.
It is. It was not at full strength today. Miles Sanders missed practice, leg soreness, so it doesn't seem like anything too concerning. The good news was Kenny Gainwell was back after missing a few practices and the game with a hip injury. So good to see him back on the field. And Britton Covey was a limited participant. He got injured in the game. Told a reporter after the game that he had torn ligaments in his thumb. Turns out he didn't. Nick Sirianni pointed out that Britton Covey is, in fact, not a doctor. The good news there, because, if it's torn ligaments, you're looking at surgery. You're thinking, well, his rookie year might be wasted, or what are they going to do with him? So it was a very pleasant surprise that he was at practice participating, even returning punts and kicks today.
And he looked good doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I thought.
Didn't seem to have anything, big rap or anything.
No, he didn't have anything. Yeah,
back from the dead, Britton Covey.
I mean, at 9:00 this morning, we were talking about whether they were going to IR him now or after cuts.
Yeah.
And then 20 minutes later, there he is at practice. So that's a good problem to not have.
Yeah, nothing else major in the injury front. Boston Scott was at practice today, so it looks like he's moving through the protocol. At least he was able to be out there in the sun.
Grant Calcaterra did not look good walking.
He's missed quite a bit of time.
Yeah, he's been out, I think, since since August 3rd, maybe. Since July 30th.
Yeah,
he's missed almost all of camp and did not look good walking with a trainer. So who knows? What do you make of J-Jaw? That's kind of unusual.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
He's listed as not injury related.
Yeah, I don't
know. Not personal reasons. Just not injury.
Wish they have used that designation.
I've never seen that.
I don't want to read too far into it. I don't know.
I don't either. Here's a guy who's trying to make the transition from receiver to tight end. He played 8 snaps on offense, I believe is the number on Friday night. 8 snaps, 15 on special teams. And we'll see what happens. Hopefully he's back Tuesday when we're back.
Good to see Kelsey.
Kelsey was out there.
Didn't have anything on, no bionic arm or anything. Yeah,
he's going to be back.
Yeah, I think so.
You would think.
All right. What else? We mentioned the one linebacker play from TJ Edwards. Didn't mean to. It was a great play by TJ in the game. In practice, he doesn't want to do that, and he knows that. He tried to help Smith up. Smith was impressed. I heard him talking on the sideline just about how quickly TJ closed on him on that play. Kaiser White made another play.
Yes, he did. It was a bad play by Gainwell.
It was. It was a catch. I guess it was in the flat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was a catch, by the way.
I think so. The refs today,
they were idiots.
I don't want to get on the refs too much in a practice, but they made some bad calls, and I called them out in my observations.
Yeah, it was a catch and a fumble.
I thought so. I thought he made a football move.
Oh, there's no question. And
took a few steps.
I tried to challenge it, but nobody.
You
really
threw your cap.
I did. But yeah, it was a good play by Kaiser White, he's shown up.
He has. He keeps making plays, and these linebackers are not just like making the steady plays; they're making splash plays. We've seen him make some, obviously interception in the game. We saw Davion Taylor pick a ball off in 7-on-7s and take it the other way. So the linebackers stand out.
TJ makes play every day.
Every day, yeah.
And N'Kobe had a nice game Friday night.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of did more in the game than he has in practice.
Yeah, which for a guy like that isn't super surprising.
True. TJ, I asked TJ about that, just the depth they have at the position, and he mentioned, we look, you throw Sean Bradley into the mix there. They've got a lot of linebacker talent. It's just weird. It's just weird to even talk about it.
It is.
It just hasn't been that way around here.
I got a little greedy at practice today. I tried to watch offensive, defensive line one-on-ones and 7-on-7s.
Yeah.
It's tough. I don't think I did a great job, honestly. I gotta just pick one and stick with it.
Yeah, because you're doing a disservice. If you try to watch two, you can't really watch either.
Yeah. Although I got just a little bit from both. I was watching the one-on-ones. Patrick Johnson was impressive in there.
Yes, he was.
When he's not fighting people, he's getting much better on the field. Teron Jackson, we talked about him a little bit in the last pod, makes plays every day now. And I think he's pretty close to being a roster lock.
Yeah, I think you're right. Really something I kind of think him and the two of them are kind of in the same category. They're just kind of something's clicked.
Mm-hmm.
And these are late round picks.
Yeah, and it's almost like if they get anything out of these guys, it's a bonus. You're not really counting on Teron Jackson and Patrick Johnson being significant contributors. So, yeah, and the players in front of them are really good. You have Brandon Graham and Josh Sweat and Hassan Reddick, even Derek Barnett. And you get down to these guys and you're like, all right, well, if they play 10 snaps a game and they give you a little something, you'll take that.
Yeah. Yeah, they've both been impressive. And it just kind of started maybe halfway through camp.
Mm-hmm.
You just started noticing them every day.
Yeah.
Both of them.
Yeah, I think a lot of it's confidence.
That's what TJ said.
I think, and I've never talked to a player about this, but I think there's probably something to the idea of you're not a rookie anymore and you're watching rookies go through what you went through.
Yeah.
There has to be something. Like if Patrick Johnson's watching Kyron Johnson and goes, I'm better than this kid. I know everything. And he's swimming a little bit. Like he's in the deep end. He's treading water. This is my chance to really show up. And that's the way I think I would go about it. Or at least I think that's probably in their thought process somewhere.
Yeah. It's funny. TJ Edwards, we'll talk more about him at the end, but he was talking about how he's kind of become the sage for the late round picks and the undrafted guys. The young kids, they come to him because they know he's made it.
First round busts go to BG. Late round guys go to TJ.
It's true. And he said, I try to be here for everyone, but I can tell them I went through this and this is what the biggest challenge was. And this is how I got through it. And, and it's basic stuff. He tells them, don't think about the depth chart. Don't think about cuts. Don't think about anything except the next practice. And I said, who did you have to learn that from when you were a rookie? He said, Corey Clement. So here's a guy, and they obviously both went to Wisconsin. He said, here's a guy who was undrafted and was in the Super Bowl MVP mix a few months later. Mm-hmm. So that was interesting. And he said he told Patrick Johnson, "You were a 7th round pick, but I was an 8th round pick." He's really, TJ's become not just a really good player, but he's really become a leader too. For those guys.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on. You mentioned the backed up period. It is fun whenever they do these real life situations. So in this case, offense starts at the 1 yard line. They have a script that they're running through. What stood out to you there? Because for me, it was the defensive line.
I thought the defense as a whole in that drill was dominating. Mm-hmm. Offense really couldn't do a whole lot.
Which look, it's a situation that is heavily slanted toward the defense, but you want to see them put the clamps on.
And they did. and they just got pushed on just about every snap. And I mean, I thought just tackling, just being physical, penetration. I mean, the defense just dominated that drill. It was, I really enjoy. I thought it was like one of the better drills of the summer. Really, just that backed up drill, and offense couldn't get anything going. Again, they made a couple plays. Right after the Dillard fight, I think it was the other running back. What's his name? Kennedy. I forgot.
Kennedy Brooks.
Kennedy Brooks. Thank you. He got like really angry and just ran like 11 yards up the middle, knocking people down. He's a big, tough kid. But I thought the defense and the D line were tremendous in that drill.
And this is without Javon Hargrave, who we didn't mention. He's out. Yeah. It sounds like they're really going to slow play this until week 1 with him. So even without him, like Milton Williams steps in, and that's still a really strong line. They had at one point they had Jordan Davis in the middle, Fletcher and Milton Williams flanking him, and then Josh Sweat and BG as the overhangs. It's a pretty tough line. Yeah,
it was fun watching Jordan in that drill. I mean,
he's fun to watch in general.
It's like there's like a wall of cinder blocks in the middle of the D line. I mean, I'm getting really excited about seeing this kid play for real, and I'm excited to see him in Cleveland because seeing him get some different guys, and
it's interesting. We'll talk about that probably on the next pod, a little bit of like what to expect in Cleveland. But they have 2 really veteran guards, but they moved on from J.C. Tretter, and Nick Harris was their center. He just went down for the season, so I don't even know who their backup center is. But I'm curious to see. He's going to go up against someone without a great pedigree at the center position, and then 2 pretty good guards. So it'll be a fascinating test for him.
Yeah, I have a feeling he'll do well. Their center is currently Ethan Pacek.
Okay.
Who they signed from Seattle.
I don't know that name.
I don't either. Ethan Pacek.
Say school?
I looked in the wrong place. I just went to the Our Lads depth charts.
That's okay. Don't worry about it.
Ethan Pacek, 2nd-round pick out of LSU.
Okay.
He started 40 games for Seattle center. Interesting. We should have heard of this guy. 2nd-round pick. He was a 58th pick overall in 17. We were kind of busy in 17. I think by the draft, we were still kind of like fried.
Well,
all right.
That was before.
Oh, 17 draft. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You all right?
Yeah, I'm right. Just poor.
Take a sip of water, wake yourself up.
17 draft was in April of 17.
Yeah.
Well, we were still recovering from the Bengals game in 16.
What do you think of Jalen Hurts today?
Paul Turner. I thought Jalen was good. Underthrew a couple deep balls, which is the thing you look for because he was doing that last year.
Yeah.
But threw some really nice ones too.
Yeah.
And
Devontae, Quez got in the mix.
Yeah. Quez had a pretty good day.
He did.
Yeah, Quez had a good day. I thought Jalen was good. Really, he's been good for about the last week. He had those couple bad days. I feel like
he's hit a little bit of a stride.
Yeah. I think he's in a rhythm. Certainly getting Devontae back helps.
Yeah.
Just get rid of the ball quick. I think he's made strides there.
Yeah.
And there's still plays where he's not, but he's not perfect. He's a work in progress.
I thought Nick brought up a really good point during his press conference about when a quarterback gets flushed out of a pocket, that it's not always because of pressure, that sometimes, the play breaks down because no one's getting open and the quarterback is just kind of buying time getting out of the pocket as a progression in the play, as opposed to like, it's easy to say there's no pressure. Why do you leave the pocket? But you can't stand there all day. I thought that was an interesting point that is true in some respects. I do think there have been times, obviously, in Jalen's career where he flees the pocket too early.
Right.
It's a fine line of when he should do that.
I have that football card here, fine line football card. I think he's seems to be developing a better sense of when to do it. we'll know for sure once the games start for real. But I mean, on that play the play he ended up getting cheap shotted. I mean, I don't think there's anyone open.
Mm-hmm.
I think I wrote that in my obs off the game.
And I liked that Nick threw a little shade at A.J. Brown.
Yes, he did.
Because A.J. Brown told us he thought Jalen should slide, and I was thinking the same thing. I was like, why would you slide? You're going out of bounds.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't need to slide. It's a safe haven.
It's the same thing.
You don't expect to get hit like that.
Yeah.
They're really lucky. I watched that again. I mean,
could have been awful.
It could have been really, really bad. And he really kept his cool. And Nick mentioned that too in his presser before practice, that just how important that is for the quarterback, just to, you probably want to fight the guy. You want to scream at the sidelines. You want to do everything, but none of that is productive to the goal at hand.
You say that you want to. I don't even know if that's in Jalen's thought process.
No, I just mean in general. Most people would be, how can I get back at them? What can I do?
Yeah.
I'll go kick this guy in the whatever. But Jalen's he's so focused. He's just, what do you say? I ain't tripping. Just go back to the huddle and take the next play. It's an admirable quality.
I'm going to get our video guys to cut that. You saying I ain't tripping.
Yeah, do that.
A.J. Brown had a quieter day because Vonte was getting so many targets, but he made that one leaping grab
against Bradbury
in the sideline. He's so strong, and he attacks the football. That's what's been fun to watch with him. He doesn't half it at any point. He's not lackadaisical going after the football. He comes back to it, and it's not even just 50-50 balls. It's every ball. He makes an effort to go get it, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, and I mean, that seems like an obvious thing, but you need great strength to be able to do that. And he's just so different than anyone we've seen here, and makes it fun to watch because, we're just not used to seeing a guy who's that physical going after the ball. And, you just think about guys just standing there waiting for the ball to come to him. I mean, he's attacking the ball is a great way to put it. He's just so aggressive. And it's interesting. I mean, Devontae says he's learned a lot from watching him. And, I don't think it was a problem for Devontae, but, and he doesn't have the physique that AJ has to maybe out-muscle guys. Yeah, but it's a good lesson. And, how many times have we seen a receiver just waiting for the ball to come and not going after the ball? And it's every receiver can do better with that, not just big, tough physical guys. So it's a good lesson for all of them.
I was chatting with Sproles after practice.
Yeah, it was good to see him.
And that was the first thing he said to me was, A.J. Brown's big. Yeah, he's big and strong, man.
He looked bigger today than he has. Man.
Yeah. Safety notes here. I put them all together. Anthony Harris made his best play of training camp, and they threw a flag on it.
Yeah, it was a bad
We were
call.
standing next to each other,
Yeah.
and I was like, you got to be kidding me. This guy finally makes a play. And he timed it perfectly. After practice, I had a chance to ask him about it. I was like, what did you think of the DPI? And he didn't even know they
No, he never looked over there.
Yeah, he said he didn't even know they threw it. He was like, did they? Yeah.
Dave was hot at the refs. Dave was screaming.
They had a bad day.
Screaming at the refs. Dave got a personal foul flag just for yelling.
Barnett gave me a fist bump after. Josiah Scott got some first-team reps at safety.
Yeah.
Something to keep
over Epps.
Yeah, this is not – and look, he's not going to end up being a starter for this team, but this is no longer in just like training camp, cross-training territory. This is – they think he can play safety.
Yeah. I mean, Gannon has talked about how safeties in his defense don't have to be these big, strong, imposing guys. He can play safety at 5'9".
He's smart. He's physical. He's rangy.
Yeah. Yeah, he's all those things. And, I mean, he's not going to play in the slot.
He does. It's obviously it's a layup here, but he reminds me of when we saw Vonte play safety in his rookie year.
Yeah. I thought you were going to compare him to Joselio Hansen.
How would I go Joselio?
He was a slot corner that played safety, and both their names start with JOS.
Okay. And I wouldn't read into Epps
not
taking reps there.
Yeah.
because this was the first time all summer he skipped first team reps, and it wasn't like they put him on the second team. They gave him a break.
Right.
And they wanted to see Scott.
No, he's fine. Yeah.
Yeah. They've done that with Harris a bunch this training camp. So, yeah, I wouldn't read into that. Jakwaski Tarte returned to practice. He missed a few for personal reasons. We don't know exactly why. Good to see him back out there because he really needs to earn his spot. And he hasn't done that yet.
He didn't get back very quickly.
Golly.
Yeah, no, he hasn't. He's been a disappointment, and I mean, I'm not even taking into consideration the time he missed, which is about a week.
Yeah, he missed a long time, and it's like, but even before then, you can kind of give him. It's tough because in a certain, like, you give him a pass a little bit because he's learning the defense. They're bringing him along slow, but then on top of it, to miss the time, and obviously, if he's dealing with personal stuff, you got to deal with it, but. You don't get a pass when they're building the roster. As cruel as that sounds, they have to create the 53-man roster based on what they've seen
right
from in the summer, especially from a player who hasn't been here.
Yeah.
Like if you have another player who misses time or doesn't have a great camp, but you have a body of work in the scheme or with the team, you can go on that. But with a veteran who sure has good tape from his time in San Francisco, but you sign him to a minimum deal at a position where they probably needed some help, and they probably still need some help. You'd like to see him show up a little bit. So he'll be someone really to watch over the next couple of weeks.
And Kayvon Wallace has kind of rebounded.
I agree with that.
He had a tough start to camp, I thought. And I think over the last, week and a half or so, he's played better. I thought he had good practice today. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, it's that position is a little murky.
It's a good word. Yeah. It is. I mean, that's why something like Josiah Scott, you really like, okay.
Yeah.
This is more than just goofing around in practice. I mean.
And Reed Blankenship is playing well, too.
Yeah. Yeah. Had a good game the other night. And, yeah, he's been making plays. Undrafted guy. Texas. Where do you go? Texas Tech? Where's Reed Blankenship go to school?
Oh, I know this.
Lance, I always want to call him Lance Blankenship. I think it's somewhere in Texas, right?
Wasn't he?
Middle Tennessee State.
Tennessee, yeah.
TE, Middle Tennessee State. But yeah, he's been good, and he's had some good practices too. I kind of thought he was a practice squad guy, but that's that whole safety position. It's like the one position on the team that there's so many unknowns. I mean, Epps is like the one guy that you really kind of understand what his role is and where he'll be, and he, but other than that, it's, I think Anthony Harris will probably be here, even though I would cut him. I think he'll be here.
I think he'll definitely be here.
Yeah, he will. I'm just not a fan. And they bring him in for us to interview him. He's done more interviews than made plays. So it was like the fourth time they brought him into the interview tent. Like, what are you supposed to ask him? Hey, Anthony, remember that play you made last week? I'm finished.
Okay. Vonte Maddux, we talked about him. It made me think about his time at safety because he is such a physical guy. They brought him on a nickel blitz today. He's fun on those. He shoots it so fast, and he got around Jordan Mailata on a blitz, that's a tough matchup. As much as like Mailata's a monster, and if he gets one hand on a Vonte Maddux,
it's over.
He sends him to the sideline.
Sure,
but Maddux snuck around him, and sometimes you got to take a long route to get there, but Maddux is really fast. I like the idea of dialing up an occasional blitz for him.
Yeah, I do too. And
they have some fun players who can blitz now.
Yeah, finally, right? I mean, they haven't had a good blitzer at linebacker or D-back. And I mean, Doc, like who's like, it's just been so long.
Kendricks
was okay. Yeah.
He was
pretty good at it.
Best at.
But then they never used him.
Then they stopped blitzing.
Yeah. But yeah, Kendricks was good at it. He was quick. I don't know. I don't understand why they just didn't like him. But yeah. But you're right. Maddux is
Nakobe can blitz.
Certainly Nakobe can blitz. I think Kaiser can probably blitz. TJ Edwards, maybe not so much. Epsy can blitz. Yeah. So, and again, this defense is going to be so much more solid that I think Gannon's going to be a lot more comfortable dialing those blitzes up, just because you have the confidence in the back end to make a play if they have to. Good
to see Darren Sproles out there. Brandon Brooks.
It's good to see Brandon Brooks.
Yeah.
Started. He looks great.
Yeah. Cut a lot of weight.
Yeah, it looks really good. Seems like he's in a good place. He started at Wharton 2 weeks ago, going for his MBA. And, smart guy. Just good to see him around. Good to see him doing well.
Yeah. I haven't talked to him in a while. It was good. Daryl Morey.
Daryl Morey was there.
Was out there.
Yeah.
It's fun.
I told him, you better not trade Maxey. I'll be pissed. I don't care.
I mean, you wouldn't trade?
Nope.
Even if you got?
Nope.
I think that's crazy.
He's going to be a Hall of Famer, Maxey.
I love Maxey, but I think that's crazy.
Everyone, yeah, I know. Everyone would get rid of him, but
I wouldn't he's not getting rid of him.
Well, you're getting Kevin Durant, but
getting one of the best basketball players ever.
Yeah, but how many games is he going to play? He can be healthy. And he wants to, I'm always suspicious of those guys who always want to go to a new team every year.
He's so good.
I know he is. All right. Anyway.
I think I love Maxey, but
I know. I'm in the minority on that one.
I don't know if you are. I think people really like him so much.
No, everyone loves him, but
it would be tough. It would be tough to watch him get traded. I get it.
Yeah.
But you probably wouldn't be able to do it without him. So.
No, you wouldn't.
Stupid observation of the day.
Moss doesn't have that kind of cachet.
My stupid observation of the day, I told you about this already, but after the fight in one-on-ones, it was pretty silent, but all you could hear was Brandon Graham laughing at the top of his lungs.
And BG's got such a great laugh.
It's
a high pitch.
It's like an iconic laugh
at
this point for us.
Yeah, it's a great laugh. And he does it you don't even have to say anything funny for him to laugh. You just walk up to him and he'll just start laughing. He's just
it was so great.
Yeah.
How about anything else from Nick that stood out to you?
Not really. Not really. Talked about the joint practices a little bit, and he did say, because it's unusual, and I think you asked the question, and it's a good question. Unusual to have back-to-back road joint practices. I mean, come back.
I asked him about the value of joint practices versus what I perceived as a negative being on the road that much.
And he said, they wanted, first he said, we wanted to do one at home and one on the road, but it didn't work out. And he said he really liked the bonding he saw with the Jets up in Florham Park last year. And he thought the value of having two sets of them on the road was pretty good as far as bringing the team closer together. And so yeah. And I mean, they'll be in Cleveland from Wednesday to, I guess they're flying back Sunday after the game. So Wednesday to Sunday, and they'll be together, and then in Miami for the same amount of time.
Yeah. So, roommates Andre Dillard and Derek Barnett.
I thought Patrick Johnson. Maybe.
Yeah. What else? Oh, he was very complimentary of the game, Cam Jurgens had, and I went back and watched the game. I mean,
he was really good.
He was really good.
Yeah.
And it was a well-phrased question by Bo Wolf, because it's impossible to watch him and not think about Kelsey.
Yeah.
And at some point, that's probably going to be a disservice to Cam Jurgens, because it's going to be awfully tough to live up to what Kelsey's done. But I don't know how it's unavoidable. It's why they drafted him.
I think that's how I wrote in my observations off the game Friday. I said, I really don't want to make this comparison, but I have no choice.
Yeah.
Because they play the game the same way. They're both cerebral. They're both athletic.
And if they didn't, he wouldn't be here.
Yeah. That's why they brought him in. It was a hell of a draft pick. Really was a stroke of genius. And he's going to be playing center for this team for a long time.
Yeah, you would think. That was the only things that stood out from Sirianni. How about after practice? Devontae Smith talked.
Yeah,
for the first time since his injury.
Yeah, I just talked about how I think I mentioned just how he tried to be really productive with his time while he was out. Got hurt August 2nd, or that's when he stopped practicing. It was almost 2 weeks. Said he's 100%. I thought he looked great. He looked better than I expected. and he wasn't limited. I mean, he came back and did everything today and played a lot of reps. And he just talked about how dangerous the offense is going to be when, with everyone out there. And it's like, somebody's going to be open and that kind of thing. We talked to TJ. I shared some of that. Always good to talk to him. He talked about Patrick Johnson a lot. Probably enough for me to write a story about Patrick tomorrow. Who else we talked? We talked to Quez.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't say a lot, but
quiet guy,
but talked about he and Reed Blankenship are from the same hometown.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, they're from the same tiny little town. They went to different high schools, though. He said he never played against them before. I guess they were like different levels. And Quez is a little older. But
Quez is an older player because he had the JUCO.
Right. I asked Quez about the consistency he's looking for in his game. He said that's really like, the big thing for him right now. And because he makes, we were talking about this on the sideline, he makes a lot of wild plays. But then there's always that play that, like in the game, he had a drop that I thought he should have caught that pass. It was up a little bit, but
you got to haul it in. He's had a couple of plays in practice too where ball go through his hands. Well, that's not great.
Yeah.
There was even
too many of them.
Yeah. Sometimes he won't attack a ball, kind of like we talked about with AJ Brown. He won't attack it. This is such a little thing, and I want to make sure it's not good. But they were working on back shoulder throws today, and he one-handed it, which is fun. It's a flashy play. That's not what get two hands on it. Yeah. Reach back. It's supposed to be to reach back and get the ball, not to throw out a hand and catch it.
Yeah.
So they're just like little things with him sometimes where I'm like, he needs to take that next step.
Yeah, I would agree with that. He's got so much.
And he's really good. It's not a knock on him too bad. It's like he's a really good player, and for every questionable play he makes in practice, he makes 5 that are really impressive.
Yeah, and I think also there's a reason he was a 6th-round pick,
mm-hmm.
and he's probably his consistency. I mean, we know he's fast. We know he can catch the ball. He also talked about the value of really all the receivers except Vonte can play in the slot and outside, and he just talked about how much fun they all have kind of going in and out.
They're going to mix really, getting AJ in there is the difference maker because he's such a different body type.
Yeah. But Quez really likes playing in the slot. And
it's fascinating too because he has an unusual slot skill set.
Profile, yeah.
Yeah, profile. I like that word. I overuse skill set because it's not even a thing. It's become this made-up word that we all use, but it's like a set of skills, and then skill set becomes a word.
You use profile if you like.
Yeah, I'll steal that.
Yeah. So much they can do with this offense. And that's why I just think it's when Jalen drops back, there's going to be somebody open like 90% of the time. And when it's not, he'll run for 18 yards. So, but who else talked today? Davion, you talked to Davion over the.
Yeah, it was all right. He talked about really understanding preventative maintenance on his body. He had the MCL tear last year, so not that he could have prevented that, but he's also had, some soft tissue stuff since he's been here. So he talked a little bit about like his understanding of his body and the extra work, whether it's, spend some time in the hyperbaric chamber or massages every day. So I think that's just the maturation a little bit of a young football player.
Yeah. Cool.
All right. That's all I got.
All right. One more practice here and we go to Cleveland.
Yeah. Can't wait. That'll be fun.
Well, we've never done a podcast in Cleveland. Have we? No, maybe after a preseason game.
Yeah, I think we did.
Yeah, we probably did. Not in Berea, though.
Is it Berea or Berea?
Berea.
Berea. Yeah. I've been saying Berea.
Baldwin Wallace. Yeah, I actually called college baseball games when I was at Ohio Wesleyan at Baldwin Wallace.
Okay.
So I think they'll remember me, I would think.
Probably. All right. If you enjoyed the Eagle Eye podcast, please rate and subscribe wherever you get your pods. If you're watching on YouTube, please click the like button.
So the draft's in
and
April
subscribe there
of 17.
As well.
The Super Bowl.
That's all we've
February
got for Rube. I'm Dave.
I think I got it now.
We'll talk to you next time. That is how time works.